This is Romo Dunze, and you're listening to the Ballsville Podcast.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Welcome back, Ballsville gamers, to another episode of the Ballsville Pod. This episode is brought to you by the Ballsville Games. Our games combine fantasy football and poker, which create big payouts with great odds. All right, everyone. Week 1 is in the books, and it was pretty eventful.
You're not going to introduce us?
In a second. So before I get to the panel, I just want to let you guys know it was very eventful. There was obviously some injuries and some pretty good showing and some not good showing. So we are going to now introduce the panel. My co-host, Bill's Mafia. He's from Las Vegas. S. Clem, what is up, Sean?
Chilling, buddy. How you doing?
Good. And from Lakeland, Florida, he's a Hawkinson lover. We all know that. He goes by the name The Dealer's Back, and he manages over 300 dynasty leagues. Welcome in, Mr. Kenmore.
God,
hey, what's going on, guys? You know, real quick, I feel really bad to be wearing this Vikings jersey today.
And from the West Coast, which is, from what I heard, is the best coast, he is part of the Raider Nation. He is rocking the Raiders hat. He is back and long overdue. Mr. JoJo, what is up?
Man, 'tis the season of fresh starts and optimism, isn't it, fellas?
That's right.
All right. Good to be back.
Raider colored Bills gear just for you, JoJo.
And in the background, producing, taking over for Sarah, who's out this week, it is C-Bomb Connor, and he's going to do the producing today. So welcome in, Connor. So we are going to
good touch.
good touch. So first and foremost, I want to thank the Ballsville gamers. Please like and subscribe to our podcast on YouTube. It really helps us out a lot. Also, we have our website's under construction. We're hoping to get it out by week 1, week 2 range. It's already looking pretty good. We're working on it every day. Sarah's been doing a good job working on that. Alex has been working tirelessly on that, and Sean and I were actually working on it a little bit today. So it's coming together pretty good. I think you guys are really, really going to enjoy it. It's going to be a one-stop shop for all your fantasy needs, and it's obviously going to be tailored to you fantasy gamers for all your games. Also, we're going to have some big news coming up probably in the next month or two. We'll probably let you guys know about our new redraft game for next year. So that's going to be very, 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 very exciting. So we will get into the reviews from last week, and we will go around the horn. And then from there, we will preview week 2. And then if we have a little more time, we will get into the area where everybody likes to know about it, and that's the trades. So we are going to start. Usually I'll start with this, but you know what? JoJo has been bouncing off the walls all week, wanting to get on here. And so I'm going to let him go ahead and review that Raiders-Viking game from last week. Go ahead, JoJo.
Well, yeah, the biggest news, I appreciate that, Scott. It is my team. I am very excited just to see my team take the field for the first time. It's going to be an interesting season from what I can tell. But the biggest news, obviously, out of the game is the J.J. McCarthy outcome. So we'll start with that news and nugget. I'm going to be now out for the season. If you missed the update as of today, the torn meniscus is going to need a full repair. Wish the best to that kid, but it's officially Sam Darnold's season over there in Minnesota. We might get a little retort from the Skull himself, Ken the dealer over there. But I'll just start out with just how good he looked real quick. I think the prospects are really solid for JJ. That first INT, I think all of us were in the chat, our own chat, like saying maybe it's probably a redshirt year. He's not ready, but he came back and he just fired some darts. Albeit, I'll just pull back a little bit. Some of it was probably against the twos on those next couple drives, but one against single coverage to Tristan Jackson, one against busted coverage to Trent Sherfield. So, but still, he made some great throws. He did some good things. I'm just worried about Darnold being the guy for the whole year. On the Raiders side, the QB battle, right? That's the name. That's the news that notes out of Vegas. We're going to probably get a decision from Antonio Pierce after this Cowboys game in week 2, which I'll preview soon. My biggest thing is that they both look pretty efficient overall. I'd still give the edge to AOC. Some people might disagree with that. Only got one series, right? 7 of 9, pretty efficient. Only got one series. Minshew had 4. So that's the biggest discrepancy when people are probably going to put those two statistics together in that game. He did get the touchdown, Minshew. Only 6 of 12, 117 for that score. I do want to see more of Brock Bowers. The last thing I'll touch on this game before I'm moving on is he moved all over the field. And I have one little stat with you. He had 4 inline, 3 split out, 3 in the backfield, 1 in the slot. He even saw that spider 2 wide banana. That made John Gruden cry, and that a little tear out of the backfield, man. It was great to see. It's going to be a matchup nightmare. I think it's going to move a lot of things away for Devontae Adams. So I'm excited.
No, that's awesome. Don't be surprised if they give him some handoffs too, because he did do that in college. So I love Brock Bowers. I think he's going to be tremendous in that offense, and I can't wait to see him. I got to definitely have a few shares of him. All right, I will get it.
The news is pretty heartbreaking. I've got to say that's horrible for JJ. I was really disappointed how that played out. You know, I was looking forward to seeing him about week 6 or so, week 7 after the week 6 bye, and that sucks.
Yeah, it's definitely unfortunate, Trevor. So I will break down the Lions-Giants game. So in that game, we had Tyrone Tracy. Unfortunately, during kickoff drills and practice, he ended up getting hurt, and now he's in the air cast, and most likely he's out for the year. As far as injuries for with Malik Neighbors, he's got a left ankle injury, and Dable said, "Thank God it's not broken." But from what I've heard, he'll be ready for week 1. And then as far as the Lions go, we got Jahmyr Gibbs, who pulled up with a hamstring, which is a little concerning because these soft tissue injuries sometimes linger into the season. I would not, avoid drafting him. I'm not going to drop him in my rankings. I'm figure maybe I'll get him at a discount if people are a little bit scared, but obviously we won't see him till week 1, which is very smart. And so as far as the game goes, players that showed out pretty good. We had Hendon Hooker. He's 5 for 9, 36 yards. He also ran for 34. The law firm of Knight, Reynolds, and Jefferson, they'll be battling out for the running back 3 spot. And then a player to look for is Isaiah Williams. He's an undrafted player from Illinois for the Lions. He was 4 for 35 on 4 targets, so he caught all 4 of his targets. So he's definitely somebody that could possibly move into that WR3 role for the Lions. As far as the Giants go, we got Mr. DeVito. He had 92 yards. 4 carries for 2 yards. He definitely looks like the clear backup. The Giants wasted $5 million on Drew Lock, which was a complete waste of money. So I do like DeVito. And then the injury to Tracy opens the door for Eric Gray, who looked pretty good. 4 carries for 52 yards, 2 touchdowns, and another 4 receptions for 46 yards. So he's definitely should be the clear backup to Devin Singletary in that offense. So we will move on to Sean, and we will start off with go ahead, Sean, with that Bills-Bears.
Oh, man, you can give me my game right out the gate. Thank you so much, Scott. You're my favorite. So obviously we all know why I watched this game, right? I love, just like JoJo, I was very excited just to see my team out there in uniform playing against another team in a different uniform, and at least giving it 75, 85%, whatever it was. The very vanilla as far as play calling, all that good jazz is concerned, but it was really fun to see him out there playing. So Tyrell Shavers, he looked pretty good, about where I kind of expected him to be at this point, so I'm still excited about where he might end up. I don't think he's going to climb the depth chart crazy early beginning of the season type thing, but he's a guy that I'm keeping an eye on to be one of those late season kind of bloomers, similar to kind of how Khalil Shakir came on at the end of last season. So I'm hoping that could kind of be his, potential outcome for the season. So I was really happy to see that. And then, of course, if we go on the other side of the ball, we got to go ahead and talk a little bit about Caleb. So this kid came out. I thought he looked pretty good. I got to say I was not his biggest fan. I was very close to taking Jaden over him in a draft, a few days prior to that in a rookie draft. So it gives you an idea on where I was. So I definitely was kind of, I guess I could say, pleasantly surprised if I would be a Bears fan or rooting for any of my Bears fan buddies, that I thought that he looked strong. I thought he came out well. I thought the offense looked pretty good overall. His little pitch to Swift kind of gave me one of those, like, I hate to bring the Mahomes comparison up, but like gives you that kind of Mahomesy type of, improvisation in a play. So like that was pretty, what's the word I'm looking for here? Like encouraging to see. So, other than that, I mean, I don't remember there being any kind of serious injuries that came out of that game, as far as I understand. So I think everything was pretty clean as far as that's concerned. I mean, as far as fantasy, we got a few Bills guys I got to worry about, but that's on the defensive side of the ball. So we won't talk about that here. But yeah, otherwise, man, I thought it was a great game to watch, and I'm excited to see the next one.
Hey, again, that screen pass too. He faced pressure. Like that was pressure coming play side. Good pickup by the offensive tackle, even on that backside of the screen as it developed. Swift went across his face to develop, and he also just slid up to buy more time and flipped it out last second. That scramble too, for the first down, that 13-yard scramble.
Yeah.
That was like not one where like it wasn't one to like where you typically would see like a young QB want to get out of pressure, like my read's not there, I'll just go. It was actually out of the opportunity was there. It was man across the board, receivers running right across the field across his face. There was nothing but green grass, so he knew that was a good opportunity to scramble. So the awareness was also something else that I was taking into account as well. He played against cover 2, cover 3, quarters, fire zone, and man. Check across the board.
And he got down.
He got down. Oh, do you see the Hard Knocks about they working on the slides? Yeah, he accentuated the slide. Yeah, they're gonna touch on that.
Yeah, he slid like one of those guys slides into a catcher when they like to cleat him in the chest, and he slept with his wife or something.
Oh yeah, that was cool.
He's saying we got C-Bomb talking about DJ Moore injury. Did you guys hear anything about this?
Yeah, he actually got banged up a little bit in practice today, but then he was right back into the receiving group. So he just got shaken up, went back in there. That's what I heard. Unless there's any additional news that came on later in the evening, I heard he just got shaken up and he was right back at it.
Yeah.
All right, Ken. You're up, Ken, and you got your Pats and Panthers.
So this game, I'm gonna give more of an overview, not looking at player stats, because coming in. What?
Because it's a terrible game.
Yeah, it was such a bad game. Both teams are rebuilding. Panthers played absolutely no one. Mingo, who was, drafted high last year, just continues to be a boss. A bunch of nobodies, third string players, wide receivers, absolutely outperformed him last week. So,
he sucks
it just kind of
football. He sucks at.
So, just kind of, I don't think he'll have any part of this offense. And I'm not high on him. Rather than that, there wasn't really much out of the Panthers because they played absolutely none of their starters. So there's really nothing out of them. But looking at the Pats side, there's a little bit of some disappointment from me watching the game because I wanted to see a little bit more out of May, and I don't feel like they gave him enough of a leash in the game. I'm not saying he should have played all kinds of series, but, I don't think he got enough of this game. Brissett played a series. That was it. Milton looked amazing. Milton looked very, very good. He looked good on his feet. He was able to pick up the schemes that were used against him. Good throws. So he didn't play. He played more than, of course, May and Brissett, which I think now, I think he's going to be like the third QB on that team. And then,
Zap. Got to be on Bailey Zappi, right? Depends on how many quarterbacks they're going to keep.
I don't think they're going to keep 4, but Zappi, I think I think they're giving him such a longer leash to see if they can get a late draft pick from one of these teams that will need like maybe a QB3 or something like that. But I don't think Zappe will be on the Patriots by the end of preseason.
Vikings.
Isn't he practice squad eligible too?
Huh?
Isn't he practice squad eligible?
He will be. I'm sure he'll probably if they keep Zappe, he'll be a practice squad guy. He'll be a good scout guy against some of the mobile quarterbacks in the league. So like they'll definitely keep him around.
Yeah, I just don't think the Pats will keep him. I think they need to keep other guys instead. I think it was interesting, even though it was a small sample size. But of course, I think you're going to see how the Patriots are going to use their backfield. Stevenson's going to be the rusher. Gibson's going to be the receiving back. You kind of saw that from that game. And finally, for the receivers, Polk looked great. Bell looked great. Baker looked great. Which is what I wanted to see. I didn't want these rookies to go out there and not get any receptions or stuff like that. But they all looked good when they were out there. So, I think they didn't play as much, which I'm glad, but they looked good while they're out there. So I just think a lot of it will come down to chemistry.
Got it. Alrighty. We will move on. JoJo.
Texans Steelers. All
Yes,
right.
sir.
So the first, I'll touch on a couple. I think there was only a significant injury on the Pittsburgh side, if I'm not mistaken. It was their rookie tackle, Troy Fontanu. He got a knee injury. He got a little banged up there. So I hope that helps out because they're going to need him in the run game and also the pass. The good, bad, and the ugly with Justin Fields is probably the most prevalent information here. And I'll get to the really good stuff on Houston's side. But, he went 5 of 6, 67 yards. That's where the stat sheet would look pretty good in his limited time. But the 2 sacks, the 2 fumbles, I will give him a mulligan on one of the sacks. If you saw the play where, I'm trying to think of Danielle Hunter, the new defensive end for Houston, signed from Minnesota. He kind of got to him because George Pickens decided to run a pivot route when it should have been like double sticks. Also AOC also got sacked by Dallas Turner in a similar situation where receivers kind of got confused and ran into each other. So on a quick drop, he had to pull it down. He had to look for something. So I will give him a mulligan on that one. The fumbles are just inexcusable. He did do better with the rookie center as opposed to Nate Herbig, who was a former Philly Eagle. In man coverage, on the play action pass to Van Jefferson, I think that was the best throw. It was in perfect in rhythm and timing. You saw something like if he could just channel that in this offense, because a lot of Artie Smith's offensive scheme is built off the run and then play action. He is built for that. So we can channel that. Will be awesome. On the Houston side, Stroud looked great. The receivers look great. Diggs and Nico were out there for all the snaps. Dell was only out there for 4 of the 6 that they played together. So that's like a little indicator, like maybe there's only about 70-80% where Dell might not be on the field, maybe in 2 receiver sets. We don't know. I envision him being on the outside, but he didn't play all the snaps with the starters. But he did catch the touchdown. So that excited me due to my Tank Dell shares. And I just want to put this nugget out there. If you guys caught the Edge podcast with Micah Parsons, this was a few months ago, but he and Micah chose their perfect 11 on each side of the ball. It could be anyone in the NFL active. He has 3 receivers were Jamar Chase, Devontae Adams, and none other than Tank Dell. He chose Tank Dell out of every other receiver aside from those other 2 he named as his top 3. So I just want that to be out there. The reason why my flag plant is so out there is just because that's his guy. I think he's going to get enough target share. I do believe that Houston can have 3 top 30 wide receivers. They're going to throw the hell of the ball. So that is my review there.
I think that as the weeks go on, I think that Tank Dell and Stephon Diggs and ADP are going to get closer and closer and closer together. And wouldn't shock me if by the draft week, where every fan by the a week before when everyone's drafting, that Tank Dell doesn't oversee Stephon Diggs and ADP.
On DraftKings Best Ball, like they are literally neck and neck, and I wouldn't be shocked by the end it's Diggs, and that might be a little too pricey just because of where he's going right there. But at the same time, like that touchdown probably helped the ADP up a little bit.
Yep. So okay, alrighty, we're gonna move on to Falcons Dolphins. I will review that game for the Atlanta side. Michael Penix, 9 of 16 for 104. Looked pretty sharp. Sideline passes, the deep ball, even stuff over the middle where I'm a little critical of him. He looked very, very good in that offense. So I think Atlanta might have struck gold on this one. And it's the perfect situation because it gives him a few seasons to really simmer and develop into an NFL starting quarterback. And he's going to learn behind an elite quarterback in Kirk Cousins. So
wait, did you say elite?
Kirk Cousins is an elite quarterback. I feel he's a quarterback. How is
not
that?
fantasy elite, but in the NFL.
NFL. I'm not saying elite for fantasy, but he's an elite quarterback.
He's got no rings, man.
Well,
I wouldn't call
there's
him
a lot.
elite.
There's a lot of quarterbacks.
Josh Allen doesn't have any rings, does he? There, Sean? Huh?
Hey, that's only because Patrick
He's elite.
Dan Marino never had any rings, and is he elite? I think he was elite.
Well, okay, yeah, Dan Marino. Come on now, man.
It's my favorite argument when it comes to like 30. There's 31 losers every year, guys. 31 losers every year.
So, and then another guy to watch for. So,
teams.
OBJ's on the PUP list. So it's Malik Washington's been getting a lot of run. Obviously, another speed guy that the Dolphins drafted. Could be somebody that if that they can use in the new kickoff rule and possibly get in there. So I like Malik Washington. On the also on the Miami side, we have Jalen Wright, who looked really, really good. 10 of 55 for 1 touchdown, 5.5 average. If anything was to happen to Mostert, Wright would be the guy with Chan. So I'm seeing him creep up in drafts now. I saw him in a draft yesterday. He went in the freaking 10th round, which is, I think, a little early. Maybe like the 12th round might be, more attainable. But as these weeks go on, I think Jalen Wright is going to move up these draft boards. And like I said, if anything happens to Mostert or O'Chain, he's going to step right in that role. One other guy I forgot to mention on the Atlanta side was Casey Washington. He was 3 of 27. He was targeted 9 times. He only caught 3 balls, but they did target him out of the slot. So with the injuries for Atlanta's receiving core, Casey Washington is a guy to possibly look for. So that's really all I have for that game. Pretty vanilla. So we will move on to Sean. And Sean, go ahead and break down that Eagles-Ravens game.
Eagles-Ravens game. The two birds going to town. All right. So, I mean, we talked about this the other day. Like, I was hoping to see a little bit of what the Eagles were going to bring to the table with this new offense. And I didn't really see anything that too amazing. It's preseason week 1. So I might have been a little too excited for that one. That prediction might need to wait until after next week and see where they're at. But otherwise, I liked what I saw out of their running back. Why am I name blanking right now, guys? The rookie that they just drafted. Thank you, Shipley. Yes, Shipley looked really good, I thought. And I think that he's going to end up taking the RB2 role on Philly, to be honest with you guys. So I really like that. Honestly, I was a little surprised to see Calcaterra over Albert O. In his snap counts and his targets and everything, his route ran, all of that. So I don't know if there's going to be any kind of pecking order behind Goddard. I always worry because Goddard kind of has a little bit of an injury issue. So I always kind of liked Calcaterra as far as his progression, hoping that he could grow into something decent. And so him being ahead of the guy who is supposedly like this athletic freak is surprising to me. So we'll see. I don't really think Uzomah has anything to worry about in that offense. So I'm not worried about him at all. We'll see what happens if anything does happen to Goddard, but that's a position that to me seems like if something goes wrong with Goddard, I feel like you're looking at a really solid AJ Brown and Devontae Smith like upgrade as far as target share is concerned, because who else is going to take that snap if Calcaterra is not stepping up or Alberto's not stepping up to the point where one of them is so far behind the other, right? So those are the types of small little things I just try to watch for. Not to say that they'll turn into anything major, but it's just fun. It's preseason week 1. It's worth looking at. As far as the Ravens are concerned, the Malik Cunningham, he had like 9 snaps out there. It looks like he had 6 routes ran, but only 1 target on the routes. So, he's a young kid coming into a receiving core that obviously has opportunity. So, that could be a situation to keep an eye on, especially moving into next week. With them, it looks like Ali got, he got 5 snaps, but he ran 4 straight routes on those 5 snaps. So, what does that tell you about his role in that offense, right? Is he going to be that guy that comes in and like is mostly your passing down guy? So, those are the types of small things you get out of these first week games that they're just fun to keep an eye on through preseason, because what else do we got, right?
All righty. We will move on to the dealer. And the dealer, go ahead and break down that Bucks Bengals.
All right, so this was definitely better than the Patriots and Panthers game for sure. This game was kind of exciting for me because I had 2 rookie wide receivers that I was really watching for. But I want to first start out that was kind of interesting. The Bucks and the Bengals are both having big camp battles for their backup QBs, which was interesting because I thought Browning was kind of set behind Burrow, but Woodside looked a lot better than Browning did in the game. More efficient on his throws, more yardage, no interceptions. So that one was kind of interesting for me. And of course, the Bucks have Kyle Trask and John Wolford. And they both did kind of equally the same, except for Trask's 1 interception. The only reason I bring those up is both quarterbacks. Mayfield was really banged up last year. He played through it. Burrow, according to our great Scott, is very injury prone. Is not a top quarterback. So I just think it's important to bring those 2 kind of points up for the quarterbacks. But kind of getting down on the parts that were interesting. Bucky played, which is good. He almost averaged 5 yards a rush, which was good. Got a touchdown, and he was also targeted in the backfield, which was good. So I like the usage there. But looking at McMillan, he looks good. He was targeted twice, got both of his receptions, and then kind of called it a day. But he's very dynamic. He's very good, very clean route running. I definitely think he's going to be the wide receiver 3 on the Bucs, and I definitely think he'll be making big plays for that team. Moving over to the Bengals, I thought this was interesting. So Cincinnati in the total game rushed 13 times. 5 of those came from Chase Brown, and the 3 others came from quarterbacks. So 8 of your 13 out of it, they really didn't rush much, which tells me it's just going to be Chase Brown and Moss and really no one else there. Chase Brown did not look so good on the ground, 5 for 10. So not pretty. So I'm hoping to see more out of him in the next game. But looking at Burton, that was their big wide receiver pickup in the draft. Everyone's thought is that he's going to take over for Higgins. He showed big playability. 3 for 82. I believe is what he was, and a touchdown. But he looked very good at being able to be that deep threat for them. So I think that's going to be able to open the door for them this season. And I do think Higgins leaves next year, and he has a lot bigger role next year.
All righty. Okay, well done, Ken. We will move on to Broncos-Colts with JoJo.
The highest scoring game in week 1, ladies and gentlemen. 64 points in a preseason game. Man, let's just roll out week 1 right now. No, I'm just kidding. Bo Nix, wow. I think he was the big shiny new toy and just the star out of this game. He really operated like a vet, like a pro. Albeit part of his series was against the twos, but the first couple series he still looked the part. I do credit Sean Payton as much as I was talking a lot of stuff about him the last year or two since he got the job, that maybe he's not really the quarterback guru. Maybe he finally found his guy. Again, it's really way too early to tell. It's just one game, 15 of 21, 125 and a touchdown. That touchdown was to Marvin Mims. Looking at my notes here, he also had 3 rushes for 17 yards. And I just think the RPO zone read system, for him, it's something that caters to his strengths. It's what he operated in most of out of Oregon. It helps also the personnel more than anything out of Denver. Cortland Sutton, Marvin Mims, Jerry Jeudy, Greg Dulcich or Lucas Kroll, whoever. And the offensive line is really not that great. They have way too many running backs. We'll get to that in a minute, but it's not like the supporting cast that you would write home about. So this RPO zone read system is simplified enough to where it's like it's usually quick pass pro. You're gonna make one read and make it quick and make it fast. He can do that. He's lightning. He's super accurate. So it's gonna help a lot of the subpar supporting cast in this offense. So I'm excited about that. And I say that sparingly because I am a Raider fan. It kind of hurts when I say Denver and being excited. But I will say I'm sorry. The note that I did have were injuries too, because I know we cover some injuries here. Trey Sermon was the main injury on the Indianapolis side. He has a hammy, so that might creep. Maybe Evan Hull might creep in there. Lucas Kroll, just talked about him. He was a favorite of Sean Payton coming into camp. So Dulcich actually has more of an opportunity to be that starter. Lucas Kroll had about 4 for 31 before he went out with a toe injury. AR-15 and JT and company. 2 series, just 2 of 4 for 25 yards, 1 rush for 1 yard. We're going to need a lot more of that in these where we drafted A-Rich, but it was just 2 series. JT only had 2 carries for 4 yards. Again, not really much to really assess from this. We'll see more as camp goes. Maybe we get some more info on these inter-squad scrimmages. I think one last note I have for Denver, I wrote down here, the running backs was Estime, 10 for 31 and a fumble with a touchdown. One of the fumble was returned for a score. He's got to take on the rock in order for him to be capitalize on some touches. Seems like Javonte Williams should be the lead back. Samaje Perine, I don't even think he played. Blake Watson, the rookie out of Memphis, yeah, 9 for 26, game-winning score. Jaleel McLaughlin, 7 for 30. He also had Blake Watson had the 42 31-yard reception too. So it's just a lot of mouths in that backfield. They're going to definitely need to cut one. One is probably going to go to practice squad. They'll probably end up with 3.
Yeah, I like Blake Watson a lot.
I do too. I have him in his late
really
stash.
like him. He's got some,
squad.
I think the odd man out is going to be Oatmeal Pants P. Ryan. He's slow. He runs in quicksand, and there's enough young backs on the team that they'll just let him go.
Yeah, I think the other thing is I think Williams goes in as a lead back. SMA is behind him, and then you're going to have McLaughlin being the receiving back out of the back end.
Third down 2-minute drill, right? Yeah.
Right. Yep. And then Perine's gone. They don't need him. There's no purpose for him there.
Yep. No, I agree 100%. All righty. I will get to another kind of boring game. It's the Seahawks Chargers. Injury front, you got Noah Fant with a foot injury. Not sure how serious it is, but I don't think anyone's drafting any Seattle tight ends anyways. So, probably would disregard that. As far as the running backs, obviously the top 2 backs, Charbonnet and Kenny Walker, did not play. So they did have Kenny McIntosh out there. He went 8 for 40, 5-yard average, 2 targets. He should make the team is the 3rd running back on this team. And then as far as the quarterback, Sam Howell looked really good. I think he got the raw deal out of Washington. He was 16 for 27, 130 yards, a touchdown, carried the ball 4 times for 17 yards. He's definitely the clear back in Seattle. Potentially the future when Geno decides to either hang him up or move on. So Seattle is definitely in good hands in the quarterback room. I really like Sam Howell a lot. And then as far as the Chargers go, we still don't know about this backfield. I mean, is it going to be Gus Edwards? Is it going to be J.K. Dobbins? Is it going to be Vidal? They did run Jared Patterson out there, 7 for 38, 5.4 average, 2 targets. He's kind of the hot name along with Vidal. So we really, really don't know how this, obviously we know it's going to be Gus Edwards and J.K. Dobbins, but those guys can seem like they never can stay healthy. So at the end of your draft, throw a flyer on Patterson or Vidal and hope and pray. So other than that, we'll move on to Sean. And Sean's got that Redskins Jets game.
Yeah, the Commanders Jets game. Here we go. All right. Scott with his old names. All right, so I'll spend a little bit more time probably on the Commanders side of the board, just because there's a little bit more to talk about over there. So obviously, Jaden Daniels, everybody got to see the first action with him, and I thought he looked pretty good. He came out, he looked kind of poised. He threw a really nice drop lob pass I want to say it was De'Ami Brown early in the first drive. That was just a beautiful touch pass down, I want to say good 25 yards or 30 yards down the field. So it was pretty. So, that's the kind of things that he was bringing to the table out there. He looked like he really was running that offense well. One of the other things that I noticed a lot is they actually had Dotson in the slot a lot. And he started the game and he played after the starters, but he stayed in the slot for almost the entire game. So I'm wondering if that means that De'Ami Brown is going to be the outside guy and then Johan's going to be their main slot guy moving forward. And if that's the case, like where do their fantasy values go at that point? I mean, De'Ami's been almost like an afterthought in that offense. Does that mean that he's actually now somebody to consider, especially the way that, it seems like him and Jaden have a good feel for each other already this early? So, that was a couple of surprising things there for me. I also noticed the backfield share between Brian Robinson and Austin Eckler seems to be similar to what I kind of anticipated, with that, exactly what you guys just talked about in Denver, that early down Brian Robinson, and then that, third down back, pass catching back, and even goal line, Eckler was in there. So I don't know if the trend's going to continue, but if it does, then, I think we're looking at, a good, maybe 60-40 kind of share split between the two. So, as far as the Jets are concerned, I really like that they got Tyrod in there as their backup. I think that's a really good pickup for you. If you have Aaron Rodgers, I think you should get Tyrod on your squad. If he's available, pick him up. If he's not, throw a third or fourth or something to the guy who has him and see if you can snag him just as backup. Aaron's already limping around, rubbing his other Achilles now at practice, and there's, concerns there. So, if any of us who have had a leg injury know that when you hurt one leg, the other one is always feeling like crap after you're trying to heal from the first injury. So, there could be potential problem with that. Who knows? So I would just like to have that backup to be safe. And Tyrod is a guy that is a startable backup. If he comes in and he plays, he's a fantasy starting player on a super flex team. So I would definitely have no problem throwing him in my lineup. So also I did like what I saw of Braylon Allen. I think that he's going to be the backup there to Breece for sure. If Breece goes down, he could be a potential fantasy winner for you guys. Like, he could be a league winner if Breece is gone and he's getting most of those carries. So, those are the guys that I would kind of, look for on that side of the ball. Malachi played pretty well too. I thought he looked good. I think he'll probably end up being their slot guy there. So, basically other than that though, there wasn't much to, glean out of it. Maybe Brownlee a little bit, because I kind of liked him last year. So he's a guy to maybe keep an eye on, just like a real, deep eye on for now, and just see what happens.
No, Brent. Yeah, definitely. Allen does not run with oatmeal pants. I mean, the run hit, he ran up the middle and just barreled over somebody. I mean, he looked really strong, really good. So,
where was that at Wisconsin though, man? Like, geez, he could have been such a higher draft pick if he just ran with that consistency.
No. So I think the Jets definitely got their RB2 definitely in that draft. All right, Ken, this looks like an interesting game. 49ers Titans.
Yeah, it's going to be a quick analysis. I was not excited.
Really?
You're not excited for Will Levis?
Hold on. Just hold on.
The Levi's.
I'm not excited because I was hoping Ricky might play, but he never did because of what was going on with his shoulder. Really from that, the 49ers have nothing really going on for them. So they just had all kinds of backup players in there. I'm glad that they were able to at least send someone out there to run the ball with all of their injuries. Mason looked good. Rather than that, you had Cody Schrader and Matt Breida rushing.
Breida coming back.
Rushed 11 times for 6 yards. So wow. They looked fantastic out there. But nothing really on their side. But the interesting part is the Titans side. I'm a big Levis fan, and Levis looked very, very comfortable, and he looked good out there. I know he wasn't out there a lot, and I'm fine with that, but at least because he changed his mechanics on how he threw a football in the offseason. The coaches worked on him, so I kind of wanted to see if he looked comfortable out there or if he was going to kind of be a little nervous, and he looked fine. Now, this is the interesting part of this game. There was a 60-yard difference between the passing and the rushing on the Titans. They rushed almost 40 times this game for a total of 138 yards. So I had to look to see, it definitely was not Pollard and Spears most of this. And honestly, it was a bunch of guys that it looked like they just kind of threw him out there. But I was actually very disappointed with Spears. Spears did not show up for this game. On the rushing side, he rushed 3 times for 2 yards, which not the best, and actually it's awful. But I was expecting him to be the receiving back in the offense. He only had 1 reception for 2 yards. I know it's preseason.
I'll just say, man, like you've been kind of hard on some people. Like, dude, this is preseason.
I know.
He scored too. I mean, like,
hey, but when you're going up against backups and stuff, I expect a little bit more than.
Well, what is that, like a 0.75 per carry?
Forget it.
Yeah, JoJo, wait. But Pollard, on the other hand, 4 for 35, and then 2 for 11 receiving. He looked a lot more comfortable in that offense. So I'm just hoping to see more out of Spears going forward.
I think he'll be all right. I think there's still going to be 1A, 1B, man. Don't worry.
God, that was such a terrible analysis on the Titans. So disappointed with that.
C-.
I was expecting you to say, like, I want to hear about Traylon Burks. Is he going to?
He's bad. He's bad.
Stuck at football.
Yeah, but they didn't want to throw a lot because then they would lose their entire wide receiver core. So they had to rush it 40 times to make sure the wide receivers didn't get hurt.
I don't know. All I know is there's another quarterback that came in the league with bad mechanics, and they worked on it, and he turned into an elite quarterback.
Don't you even dare compare him to Josh. Don't you dare. He has not earned that yet.
Will Levis. All right, we'll move on. All right. We're up on JoJo here, and I'm very interested to hear JoJo's breakdown on the Packers and Browns.
All right, we'll no comment on that. That last point there with Levis to Josh Allen remains to be seen. The two news and nuggets as far as injuries are concerned, or suspensions even, just because looming could be for the Cleveland DT first. I don't know if there was a first draft pick, but anyway, Mike Hall, a DT at Ohio State, he's charged with domestic violence. So hopefully that's not the case. Good luck to him. But Marshawn Lloyd on the Green Bay side pulled a hammy, one carry for 8 yards before he had to depart and stay out of the game. But moving on towards the game, Scott, how excited were you when you saw that beautiful slot fade over Ronnie Hickman right into Dontavian Wicks' hands? I mean, it was probably like a catch-22 for you, right? Because you love Jordan Love, but you've been so hard on Christian Watson over Dontavian Wicks and stuff. So I want you to kind of
look. It's something I expect. I mean, like I said, Jordan Love's going to be an MVP candidate this year. I mean, he's got the weaponry. So, I mean, he looks so fluid, so comfortable in the pocket. He's got his money. And then you're investing in a quarterback for the Packers who's they've had 4 quarterbacks since probably I've been alive. So I mean, it's a no-brainer. I mean, get those prop bets in before that yardage prop for Jordan Love, gets creeping up closer to 5,000.
Well, I like how you got that little smirk going, Scott.
I will say, and Sean, we were. This was also in the other private channels too, where like you kind of got on me about like putting a stat out there and then almost backpedaling off it because it's 2023 data. But early indications, the first like 8 or 9 games out of Green Bay's schedule are very, very, very soft secondaries. So to Scott's bullish stance on Jordan Love being an MVP candidate, those first 9 games, man, no secondary is ranked in the top 14, 15 in the league. So top half, I would just say, just around. Right.
Yeah.
So
one of my favorite actors said, "The past is the past, the future is now, my friend."
And the future is now. It is now, Jordan Love.
I'm just gonna leave it at that. I'm not gonna put too much stock in it.
Since last year, baby, we got a whole new D-back system in most of those places.
You're right, absolutely. But like, I'll just say, if there is a non-mobile quarterback that I would want as my QB1 in the early part of the season, it would be Jordan Love. Other than that, I still want more of a mobile dual threat guy. But just because of that soft schedule. So if you guys have any home leagues out there, they're still yet to draft. I know Ballsville's pretty much done and wrapped up, signed, sealed, delivered. But home leagues, if you're in a 1 QB league, I would pull back and wait for Jordan Love, and maybe you can even move him for some more pieces down the stretch. So that's just my fantasy advice that way. I'm looking at anything on my notes for Cleveland, which is not much, but DTR looked pretty solid, but he's QB3-ish out of that field. But he was the one that had the most luck, most looks, 14 of 18, 134, but nothing on the ground. Jameis is the backup there. We all know that's why they brought him in case of, Deshaun gets hurt again and they have like a Joe Flacco type surge with a guy who can chuck it. So what was that quote about? Nick Nack Paddywhack, Deshaun's going to win a championship, whatever that quote was. That was so corny, man. So corny.
I don't know about this guy, man. I think you should go and pick up some Jameis Winston shares because this, Deshaun Watson, man.
That was Jameis Winston saying that.
That was Jameis Winston saying that.
He said that about Deshaun.
Like the Jameis Winston quote.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. After the Deshaun shade, after he's like, I guess he like said screw off, like I don't care what everybody else thinks. Like he was getting kind of, I want to talk about it, but Jameis pumping him up.
They probably just got back from their most recent massage together, and
I don't know.
They're buddies now.
Worst deal in NFL. Worst deal in NFL history. Deshaun Watson contract. Worst contract in NFL history.
100% agree.
All right. We will move on. I will get to a little more exciting game. For the most part, I got the Saints and Cards. Right away, we're going to talk about Hollywood. So, very first play of the game, catches us like a crossing pattern, falls on his collarbone, and he's got a broken clavicle. So he's out 4 to 6 weeks. As far as like what to do with him, and if you're drafting, I'd probably drop him about 3 rounds. I mean, he's going to come back, but it's so hard in redraft. I mean, if you got to wait 6 weeks for a guy, including the fantasy playoffs, I mean, that's almost like half your season. So to me personally, he's like off my radar. I mean, I'm not even going to take him as a discount. So it's unfortunate because he was in a good offense. And so yeah, that's how I'm going to approach Mr. Hollywood. We got on the New Orleans side, we got to see Spencer Rattler, who was 9 of 17 for 17 yards, had 2 carries for 8 yards and a touchdown. I mean, Derek Carr's on alert. Derek Carr is definitely on alert. So, they might have something Spencer Rattler. We'll see what happens. I'm going to bring up this name. This name won me a couple championships by adding this guy a few years, and it's good old James Robinson. Kendra Miller, I don't know what's up with this guy. He can't stay healthy, which sucks because I have quite a few shares of him. But James Robinson went in, ran, and James Robinson's only 25 years old, so he's still kind of young. He was 7 for 27. I know it's not outstanding at 3.8 average, but he caught a pass for 9 yards and scored. They need somebody to run the ball behind Kamara. They're trying to find that next guy. Another guy that was interesting was Jordan Mims. So he was he ran 10 times for 38 yards. Another measly 3.8 average, caught 2 passes for 8 yards. So on 5 targets, he actually got 5 targets. So just kind of trying to shake up this quarterback room and seeing who's going to come out in that. As far as the receiving core, 2 guys got 4 targets. One guy you will know. One guy is very interesting. I know our game manager, Jeff Zubikis, is going to love this name. But you got A.T. Perry, who had 4 catches for 85 yards on 4 targets. He's definitely a guy that he's going to battle it out with Rashid Shaheed. He very big body, red zone target. So I would keep my eye on him. And then this name, you may want to add this guy at the end of your draft. And he is the brother of Puka, and his name is Samson Nakua. And he had 2 catches for 19 yards on 4 targets. So I know, Jeff, if you're listening, go pick up your Samson shares. Going over
Maybe to get one healthy Nakua.
Yeah, exactly.
Real quick. Carr or Sam Darnold?
Oh, we had this. Okay, so that.
I would stick with Darnold. I see that you're talking about the Vikings to Carr to the Vikings rumors.
I think of what happened today. I think you have to go with Darnold because I don't think Darnold's in jeopardy of losing his job now because where they
Carr's not in jeopardy of losing his job.
Where do they go from Darnold? I mean, you don't think Carr could lose his job?
I mean, do you think that do you think that they'll even explore other options or whatever throughout the Vikings depth chart? If Sam Darnold goes 1-5 in the first 5-6 weeks, like I know JJ's not going to be there, but like you don't think they turn to Nick Mullins again or Jaron Hall because he got injured after 1 start, so it's like they still don't even know what they have in him, right? Like I think you can see either scenario play out in both of those situations, but like he's not in danger of losing his job, in my opinion. But like I'm that's just how I see it. But
I just feel that when teams get to the point where they're mathematically eliminated, all bets are off.
Okay. That point, that's not losing his job. I just think that's obviously the team's crash, and they need to like see what they got in their younger guys. I mean, that's the same thing that can happen.
It's still losing your job. I mean, they're taking you off the field. You're not playing anymore, so you just lost your job. So
is that what that means?
I mean, that's my point.
This whole time.
So we'll go over to Arizona.
I mean, there's a lot of people that lose their job in that sense of the whole team, right?
So Arizona, it looks like they have a pretty decent backup in Clayton Tune. He's 15 of 24 for 163 and a touch, 2 carries for 9 yards. Just in case something happens to Kyler again, or he has any kind of a setback. But it's good that they have some sort of a decent backup. And then everyone's all on Trey Benson, but they do have Michael Carter, who ran for 7 for 41 and a touch, 5.8 average. So will they put Benson in? Who knows? I mean, as long as Connor's healthy, I don't think he loses his job. Unless he gets injured. And it sucks that we really didn't get to see Marvin Harrison that much, or Trey McBride, but obviously they don't want to risk injury. So, but it should be a pretty exciting team to watch this year. I'm definitely really excited to watch the Arizona Cardinals and how they develop their offense. Okay, we will move on to Sean. He's got one more game. Cowboys Rams.
Yeah, it was a good one too, surprisingly, for a preseason game. It was fun. I got to start out, we got to start with the Rams, and let's talk about this kid coming out. Their next Nakua, right? It was Jordan Whittington is his name. And this kid, man, I thought he looked good, man. He looked, who he kind of reminded me of, and you guys are going to laugh at me, but he played like Debo, the way he looked, the way he was running, the way he kind of moved around. It felt like Debo out there to me. So hopefully he can grow into that role at some point in time where he's kind of that, guy who could just basically plow people off of him. These little D-backs can't seem to hang on to him. So I'm hoping that he can grow into something good. He seemed like a really fun guy. I know McVay's great at taking these late round kids and turning them into something special. He's really good at, scheming things for him and stuff like that. So it's interesting. It'll be fun to watch, especially if Puka stays hurt and, Kupp is older. Who knows what's going to happen with him? And, if Stafford's out there still slinging the ball and this kid ends up being one of the top 2 on the team, there's a chance that he could be that kind of guy. So it'll be fun. Other than that, Stetson Bennett, the kid looked like he kind of had that moxie to him out there, just like we saw in college. I know all the picks and still comes out there and throws a game winner. It's just kind of just like that's exactly what you expect from this kid almost, right? Like it's the same thing you saw from him before. So it makes for an entertaining game when he's out there. Not to say that he's going to be anything special in the NFL, but it's always fun to watch somebody like that go out there who just doesn't care. So as far as the Cowboys are concerned, I feel like we kind of do you guys feel like agree with me that we got Tolbert pretty much locked in as that number 3 wide receiver at this point? I feel like he's pretty much there. So, that's a name that I'd keep an eye on because, I don't know 100%, but Brandon Cooks is still going to be able to maintain what he was as the wide receiver too. He's an old man now, and his game is not, it's kind of built on speed and quickness, which, that's one of the first things that go as you get older. So, that's going to be something to keep an eye on with him. I really do think that, that could be potentially a guy that could turn around at the end of the season and be a real good producer for you, especially knowing there's really nobody else other than CD and Ferguson and Brooks. And that's basically it. So Brooks is down. He's in the top 3 as far as the targets are concerned. I like that Rico is out there. Got to see a little bit from him. I like that he actually got 3 routes in the process of being out there too. So that tells me that they're not scared to, have him in there to catch the ball as well. So maybe he can build a little bit more on that. As far as the, backup quarterback position, I think it's going to end up being Rush. I don't think that Trey Lance really just has what it takes. I feel like it's the Zach Wilson, all over again kind of thing. Like he's just a lot of talent, all this physical ability, but just doesn't have it between the ears for the game. You got to have a talent for that, and some people just don't have that type of talent. So feel like he falls into that category, and he'll probably end up getting cut or, emergency quarterback at best, I guess.
What do
you
guys think of like the difference between Trey Lance and Justin Fields are, really honestly? And one got traded for a 6th-round pick, conditional, and the other got traded for a 4th, who barely played anything.
I think it's what Sean said. I think it's what Sean said. It's between the ears. I mean, it's Justin Fields just probably, obviously he can learn the playbook faster than Trey Lance. I mean, they're both physically gifted. They both can run. It just
you haven't seen it from Trey Lance though. It's like that you haven't even seen that portion of him. It's just, and he got traded for even more than I don't get it. I don't get it at all. It's all good, but it's just me being a Justin Fields truther, but it's all good.
No, I'm with you. I believe in Justin Fields way over Trey Lance, all day. I'm definitely on the Justin Fields train. I think he's got what it takes eventually. He's somebody that just needs a little more time to progress, because I think he has it. He just needs more time. Whereas I don't think Trey Lance has it. I think he's just one of those people who just can't get it.
I think it's sad for Lance though, because I don't think he's been given the amount of course not, but he hasn't been given the amount of opportunities that Field has.
He hasn't been on the field, dude. Your body's your product.
Well, I agree, but it's been 2 years since he's been healthy. I'm just saying Fields has been out there a lot more than Trey Lance ever was. So one guy gets a lot more opportunities than the other. It's just sad because Trey Lance, for what he went for as a high draft pick.
No, I get what you're saying. I think that Lance did have a good opportunity in San Fran, and he was with a coach who was known for taking quarterbacks and doing well with them. And the 7th rounder came in there, and even in the beginning, I don't think Purdy played so well that he took that job from Lance before Lance had a chance. Like, they came into the next season and like they had a quarterback competition beginning of that year, and Purdy beat him out. So like he was given 2 opportunities to start in San Fran before he went to Dallas. And he's been learning behind, Dak for a year now. If you can't come into that offense in the preseason and at least be, able to take the job from a guy like Cooper Rush, who barely even got lucky to even have a shot to play in the NFL, like there's a problem there.
I do disagree with you. I do disagree with you about Fields. I don't think Fields will ever be an NFL quarterback. I don't think he has a mental toughness to be a quarterback.
Someone clipped that for there this year. C-Bomb, you got that?
You put that for when we have Justin on as a guest.
Yeah, well, Scott will find a way to get a meet and greet with Justin Fields for later for that one.
No, me and Ken are definitely going to Pittsburgh in a few weeks.
There you go.
Maybe we'll get a radio ID from somebody.
Well, perfect segue, Ken. Your last game. Let's go.
All right, so Chiefs and Jags. It was nice to see that the Chiefs sent out their starters on the first drive of the game. That's what they mentioned before the game, that's how they were going to do it, and then the backups would go in. Honestly, it's always good to see Mahomes out there. That means, football's here and everything like that. So that was kind of, good thing. The sucky part of all this is Hollywood Brown going down. With the injury, 4 to 6 weeks, he says that he's expected to hopefully be back by week 3. Sometimes those drag out a little bit. So it'll be interesting to see how Rice and Worthy work together without Hollywood there anymore. Defenses are going to focus on those two, but I'm going to be interested to see who steps up. One name that's always been there for a little bit has been Justin Watson. I feel like he's just kind of been that filler-in guy when people get hurt. Scott, I know you disagree with that, but I do think that he will step up. I mean, he's done it a couple times with a couple big plays here and there. But to get back to it, one of the big things I've been interested to see about is who's going to be behind Pacheco this year with McKinnon gone. Is it Prince? Is it someone else? So Prince actually, was good, 4 for 16, but Carson Steele was a name that I hadn't necessarily heard of before. So, 4 for 29 and a touchdown. So it will still be kind of interesting to see throughout the last couple preseason games to see who comes out as, Pacheco's backup. And then on the other side, looking at the Jags, Tank Bigsby's been one name that's been talked about a lot because is he going to be is he actually going to step up and be the RB2 this year, or is he going to kind of falter like he did last year? But he actually looked good in game, 3 for 28, 9.3 yards per average. So that's good. But Johnson looks good, 5 for 31. Really, there wasn't anything else there. So I think that's going to be the competition going forward and, something to watch for the last 2 preseason games. But finally, the guy that I drafted a lot of, and hopefully I don't get burned on, is good old Brian Thomas. I hope he has a good season, turns into something. But he looks good when he was out there, 1 catch for 41 yards, was able to get some separation, had some speed. I just want to see how Trevor Lawrence and him, what their chemistry will be, how will they work together, stuff like that. But really, as a whole, preseason. We'll see what happens going forward.
That's it.
All right. So
That's
that
it.
will wrap up our preview. We will move on to that wraps up our reviews. We will now go into the previews for next week's games, preseason number 2. And we will just we'll start off with the Lions Chiefs. I'll preview that game. Like I said, when I was reviewing the Lions, players look out for Isaiah Williams. Obviously, there's and then we're looking at who's going to be the backup to Goff. Will it be Hendon Hooker, or Sudfeld? Sudfeld did have a concussion coming through that game.
That was Hooker.
Hendon Hooker.
I thought you said Sudfeld had a concussion.
Sudfeld had a concussion, I think.
I thought it was Hooker. Wasn't it Hooker?
I thought Hooker got the concussion.
Yeah, Hooker got the concussion.
Was it?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Hooker's the one that got hurt.
Okay, well then I'm not sure if it was that bad, but if it's not, I'm sure he'll probably be in the game. But one of those two will definitely be the backup. They'll probably carry all 3.
True, yeah.
And then as far as Kansas City, we want to know who's going to take over Hollywood Brown's spot. I mean, if this is the time to do it for Sky Moore, it's going to be right now. I think if he doesn't get it going now, it's pretty much over for him.
So bad.
I'm on Justin Watson. Yeah, I think Justin Watson's going to have the job, but Sky Moore got to do it.
Justin Watson's probably going to step in, but we'll see. And then, like Ken said earlier, I really like this Carson Steele kid. Kind of reminds me of Mike Allstott a little bit.
UCLA, baby.
Running over people. Clyde Edwards-Helaire sucks at football.
You know what? Actually, a little bit on CH. Just he admitted he struggles from mental health, which again, that's another thing. He actually admitted that. So I mean, he's struggling with a lot of other things, and so
you're saying that
might not be football might not be what you should be doing. Focus on your health, then, man. That's all I can say. Don't hurt our fantasy roster.
Stop picking on him, bully.
I'm just saying that it recently came out. Because I've been on the same train as you. It was like, dude, what's wrong with this guy? Like, you can't get it together. But like, he admitted that he's been just struggling with some stuff, and it just made more sense why he's been so up and down, or down more than up.
Well, it's unfortunate because he was like the 101, 102 in fantasy drafts a while back ago. I mean, I know I avoided that landmine, but I'm
sure Ken got hit with it in one of his 300 or so leagues.
I would just like to point out, and I know C-Bomb is watching, that I know he didn't because he hates running backs. So I know that man drafted wide receivers in such a killer draft that year.
Gotcha. All right. We will go over to the Bills Mafia. And I know Sean is excited for Bills Steelers.
Absolutely, man. This is always a fun game. Like this, we talked about this a little bit, me and Scott, that this to me are like the 2 most similar fan bases in the NFL. Like they're the style of town, like the way that they root for their teams, like they're just very much alike, I feel like. So I'm excited to see them play. They play a lot, it seems like, so I'm excited for this one. Obviously we're going to see what happens with the Steelers quarterback. I believe probably be Fields again. I don't know if anything's happened with Russell or whether he's going to be able to make it for this game. So I'm assuming that Fields is going to be the starter for the Steelers. So I'll be interested to see how he looks, getting at least probably about a half, I'm assuming, or close to it in this game. This is usually that game where they'll put their guys in for a good amount of time. So I'm excited to see how that plays out for them. I want to see if Roman is out there at all with the starters and how that kind of goes forward. He's been kind of quiet so far, even after the first game. So I'm curious to see, how that looks and where he falls in that pecking order. So on the Bills side, again, I've got my boy Shavers that I'm looking for. I also really want to see, especially for that first half, how much involved is first Dalton Kincaid and then also Khalil Shakir. Those are the two guys that I'm going to eyeball the most in the offense on the Bills side. I want to see how much targets they get, what their percentage is on the target share, routes, all that kind of stuff. So I personally think that they're going to get quite a bit, but it could be one of those scenarios that totally flips my mindset on Khalil, which would be scary considering how many shares I have of him. So, other than that, man, I mean, I'm going to be watching for all my fun stuff that I get to watch as a fan, and that's, not fantasy related.
Awesome. So, all right, we'll go to Ken, and Ken's got his wonderful Pats again. Get to host the Eagles. Good luck.
This is the best part of the year.
Yeah, great part of the year. We might get one. Yeah. That's good old Patriots. I think the big thing for me looking at this game, looking on the Eagles side first, I want to see more out of Shipley and Johnny Wilson because I really want to see who steps up behind A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, who really steps up as a wide receiver 3. I've kind of thought highly of Wilson as maybe an under the radar kind of guy. I hope that is true. I kind of took some flyers on him. But that's kind of the big thing out of the Eagles game I want to see. I don't know what – I doubt they're going to play much of their starters again. Of course, injury concerns and stuff like that. But I would like to see maybe a series or two out of them just to see, how they connect, stuff like that. I want to see Barkley at least a little bit. Hopefully he can get through a whole season. I think Scott and I have some bets on him for this season. But looking at the Patriots side, I said it earlier, I need a longer leash on May. I don't want him out there for one series. I don't want him to go 2 for 3 for 11 yards. I want him to go 2 or 3 series and actually let him loose, let him throw the ball. Let's see how comfortable he's in the pocket, stuff like that. Because if I have to go watch Zappy again instead of him, I'm going to be very disappointed. I will say the Patriots are going to have a very rough year. It's going to be tough to watch. Thank goodness I'm down here. Yeah.
Good one.
Yeah, that's true. Thank goodness that I have the Bucs down here. But yeah, that's kind of the big thing. I just want to see how all these rookies keep playing together because this is another rebuilding season. I think this is the first step in the right direction for us.
All righty.
Well, Ken, you're going to have to tune into some beat reporters' feeds for inter-squad scrimmages to get longer leashes because, I don't think they're going to want to do it in preseason games necessarily.
Yeah, but you're not gaining anything for being out there for one series.
Well, that's why they have those inter-squad scrimmages. That's all I'm saying.
All righty.
Not pleasing to the fans, I know. I get it.
All right, JoJo, you're up with your Raiders Cowboys.
All right, Trevor, you ready? Because he was in the chat about my AOC take. But I'll start out with a quote from my guy AP. Probably not going to lie. We're not going to be a juggernaut offense. Would I love to be? Yeah. But to sit here and say we're going to score 30 points a game, not realistic. I love that quote. The offense is going to be one that's on managing, being smart with the football, and being consistent, and puts the team in position to win games. Just with those two nuggets, which quarterback is the one that kind of puts that into a team, in your guys' opinion?
Are you going to ask us to say AOC because you wanted to be with you?
Just based on that kind of thought process from the head coach, it seems like AOC still might get the job, even if there are 50-50. That's not to say, look, if a kid struggles, Minshew's going to see the field. They're not going to be, going to keep forcing him out there if he's still not getting it. I think the last 5 games of the 10 games he started, are something that I think he can continue to do. The last 5 games, he had 8 touchdowns to 1 interception, a passer rating of 92.1, over 1,000 yards. Take care of the football. He put him in position to win games, and one of those games was at KC, at Arrowhead, where they struggled all the time. He puts them in a position to win. The defense is going to be lights out, in my opinion. I just want him to grab the job though, instead of just kind of being given because he's the incumbent, So I want him to kind of put a stamp on it in this game against Dallas, who picked off Stetson Bennett 5 times really. The fifth one got called back. So it's a stout defense top to bottom because they played their backups too. So and they still returned the ball over. So I want to see how Minshew and AOC go there. I want to see more Dylan Lobby, get more targets. He only got 1 target. Meyer only got 1 target. Bowers only had 2 targets, but we'll see more of those guys probably in the regular season. On the Dallas side, no major injuries, of course, but the CD holdout is the biggest news out of there. We already went over Trey Lance. I'm not going to beat a dead horse there, but I just saw a couple throws. I just want to mention this, though. Like, he overthrew Schoonover in the end zone. That would have been a touchdown. A go ball to an open wide receiver. I think it was like a fade or something. Just didn't connect either. You guys are right. You can't hit water if you fell out of a boat. 6 for 44 yards on the ground was nice in that game against LAR. But I want to see more of Rico. I want to see more of Tolbert. I want to see more Jalen Brooks. Went 2 for 49, 43 of them was on 1 play. But yeah, that's my preview.
All right, good. I think to make that quarterback decision, it's going to be real easy. Coach Pierce is going to call in Devontae Adams, and he's going to say into his office and say, "Who do you want throwing the ball to you?"
Minshew.
Well, hey, if it's all statistics, it's Minshew, because he'll give them 100 catch season and 1,400 yards in the RPO zone read. It's going to be a completely different offense if Minshew's the quarterback.
Okay, I'm just saying, Devontae's got he's the last word. So, all right, we will go to. I will break down the Vikes-Browns game. Pretty much a buzzkill game. J.D. McCarthy's done for the year, so we'll see a lot of Jaron Hall and Nick Mullins. I think they don't have a choice but to keep both those quarterbacks this year. As far as the Cleveland side, I mean, Watson's not going to play. He needs to play, but he's not playing. I'm kind of looking at just a couple receivers. Just Jameer Thrash is kind of looking at him, and then David Bell out of Purdue. It's been kind of disappointing. He was a guy that I thought might did okay coming into the league. So there's a chance he might not even make the team if he doesn't show out. So to me, it's as far as the running back, for Cleveland, like JoJo said, a lot of the starters on the offensive line have been hurt. So there's going to be a bunch of backups, and I think it's just going to be a pretty vanilla game and kind of pretty boring. So I'm not going to spend too much time on it. I'll just move on to Sean. Sean, go ahead. You got that Saints-Niners.
Awesome. So, I mean, with the Saints, we basically talked a little bit about the backup running back scenario going on over there right now with Kendre. So, it'd be interesting to see how that kind of plays out a little bit there, get a little more insight into that. And then coincidentally, we got the same thing going on the other side of the field. So the Niners got the same issues, with McCaffrey hurting, and I'm not sure if Mitchell's back yet or not, but he might also miss this game. So if that happens, then we're going to see who their next man up. I think Mason was the guy this week, so we can see what he looks like. For some reason, that offense, it doesn't matter what's on the nameplate on your jersey. You can be a solid running back if you get the time to play. So, that'll be something to keep an eye on there. So otherwise, you've got your young receivers that we talked about on the Saints side of the ball. I personally am an A.T. Perry guy. I've been on that train for a good while, so I'm hoping that pans out for me. I know Scott said that he's competing with Shaheed. I kind of don't see it that way. I feel like they have different skill sets. I think that they can both bring a role to the table and be on the field at the same time even. So that's kind of where I'm at with that game. It's really another one of those ones that it's kind of the backups that we already saw a little of. We just want to see more.
Yeah, right. All right, Mr. Ken. Falcons, Ravens.
Let's see. So we'll start with the Falcons here. Of course, the excitement with Penix, looked great. See what he has again next week. But for me, it's kind of going to see how the Falcons are going to be able to patch some things together. Rondell Moore is done for the season, of course. They also DeMarco Hellmans and rookie edge Braylon Trice, which Trice is also done for the season. So they're already getting hit with the injury bug pretty big. Of course, the trade this evening, of course, they traded with my Patriots. They took our leading Sacker and Jordan. So that will be, they're trying to help out on that defense. So for me, is to kind of see, how they're going to move certain players around. I'm a big fan of Casey Washington. I think he's going to step up big time for them. So I just kind of want to see him build off his last game. And then looking at the Ravens side, so they sat most of their starters. If on the offensive side, I kind of want to see if they're going to come out with at least one series with some of the starters, just to kind of see what they have, chemistry, stuff like that. But it's kind of really, for me, the wide receivers behind Flowers. I know Bateman said, of course, it's another preseason of Bateman looking good, and then you get to the season and he looks like a complete dud. So, I just kind of want to see what they have behind Flowers and Andrews to see if there's actually something behind there, or if Flowers goes down or Andrews goes down again, is it really just that offense is just going to rely on Henry and Lamar to, make plays for them? So that's kind of really just want to see what the Ravens have in terms of their depth in this next game.
Did anyone see if they ran any two double tight end sets a lot? Because, I'm thinking that likely will be the guy as their other option. But did you see 12 personnel or anything like that?
They did not run anyone. The biggest name player was Walker. They sat likely. They sat Andrews. They sat literally everyone.
Okay. I think from what I read, the goal this year is to come out and some two tight end sets.
Right.
They like likely a lot, and they definitely want to get him involved. And it all depends on Bateman too. If he ends up, dudding out again this year, they're going to need some more pass catchers. They did draft the rookie, but from what I've read, they do want to use a two tight end system.
I really want to see,
man. He's why does it likely just move to receiver, man? Put him on the Tom Brady diet and throw him out there.
It's about time that they ran the double tight end, because I've always been a fan of Likely. He's always done well when Andrews has gone down. Yep. Andrews seems to get hurt for a period of time every season now. So I think that will be good. And I just want to see what they have more of Walker, because if Bateman's a dud again, I want Walker to step up.
For sure.
Yep. Okay. We will move on to JoJo. And here's a pretty interesting game. Now, before I get into this, isn't this week the dress rehearsal for these teams? Or are they going to do it next week?
It should be.
Go ahead, Sean.
No, I was going to say the same thing you probably were. It should be this week, and then next week will be like the roster bubble guys.
Right, and it almost seems like from what I've read, like no one's playing their starters really.
So there's some coaches that just like Sean McVay is notorious. Like Stetson Bennett's going to get all the reps. Like there's going to be no Matt Stafford that hasn't won. I forget the guy's name, but he took all the snaps last year too. There's some coaches that just will not play starters, no dress rehearsals one bit. And then there's schools of thought that some did it in the first game, and then the last two are kind of roster bubble. So it's ever since it went from 4 to 3 games, it's kind of like a crapshoot. There's not really no like template now, at least from what I've seen. But.
Yeah, and the only reason why I brought that up is because when JoJo, you get to break down this Broncos Packers, and I mean, if the starters played, like let's just say into the second quarter, I mean, that'd be a pretty exciting, matchup, at least for the first quarter and a half.
Well, I would love to see that, just like everyone else, just because Bo Nix played so well in the first game, and then to see, that's what I wrote down here is I expect to see more confirmation that Nix will start. Right, he will beat out Jarrett Stidham here. I want to get more clarity on the running back situation. The snap counts between Jaleel McLaughlin, Audric Estime, really, because we kind of all agree here in consensus that Javonte will still be the guy, and Samaje is still really, really on the bubble there, and see what they do with Blake Watson after, right? So with no Kroll, is Dulcich really the guy there? confirmation with the receivers. More out of Troy Franklin. I mean, is he hurt or did he just not play? I didn't even see him.
I think he got like one target.
One target. There you go. So Marvin Mims caught the touchdown from Nick. So I want to see more outside of Cortland Sutton. Are those the two guys that are going to be on the field now that Jerry Jeudy's gone, right? So on the Green Bay side, the real nugget that I had here was actually a cool little nugget from an inter-squad scrimmage there, Ken, from family night in Green Bay. There was 26 snaps with the starters, right? Any guesses on how the snap counts broke out? Unless maybe you guys did read up on this, but 26 snaps with the starters. Who had the most? Let me ask.
You talking about receivers wise?
Yeah, because that's the quartet here. Go ahead.
Well, of course, it's going to be Dontavion Wicks, so that you can get your Dontavion Wicks confidence in here.
I actually pulled back on my Dontavion Wicks over here.
With the Dobbs?
It was Dobbs. Dobbs had 21 out of the 26. Watson had 19 of the 26. Jaden Reed had 16 of the 26. Wicks had 6 out of the 26 snaps with the starters, which is very, very concerning. Bo Melton had 5. Grant Dubose had 2 with the starters. And not only that, Tucker Kraft is back from that torn pectoral muscle, which adds even more clutter to the receiver target share, target competition. Josh Jacobs now with Marshawn Lloyd with a hammy, which is the news that I shared earlier. He can catch passes out of the backfield. I mean, this target competition is actually getting so muddy. It can go any which way. But I will say this, because of that fact, for your drafts, everyone, it's going to be hard to hang your hat on one person because Jordan Love's favorite receiver is a lot like CJ Stroud. It's the open guy. And as much as Dobbs is supposed to be the hardworking, the hard hat X receiver, he gets a lot of targets, more than he probably should. Like, he plays the same X role like Marquez Valdez-Scantling, but he actually gets targets and he actually comes down with them. So I probably should get some shares in my later home leagues of Dobbs, as much as I don't want to. But this target competition definitely is hurting my Dontavian Wicks love, even though he did catch a deep ball.
Christian Watson's going to be a bust, everyone. I will put – yes, he will be. I will put so many pub subs on it.
You know why he's not going to be a bust? Because they're not going to be able to double cover him. He's going to get single coverage every time.
No.
Well, exactly that fact.
And the other thing, too, is the number one corner might not cover Watson. He might cover Dobbs. He might cover freaking Reed. He might cover Wicks. I mean, who are you going to cover? It's
going to be all mismatch. I mean, because Wicks was on a safety on that slot fade. Right. Like it was single high safety. If you go back and watch the play, it was man across the board. It was single high, and Jaden Reed ran across right across the face. The safety went hard at it, and it was just easy. It's just one of my receivers on a safety. I'm going to take that every time. It was just, again, the open guy. That's my theme. It was the open guy.
I don't trust Watson to stay healthy for a whole season.
No one does, but hey, well, they say they got it. They've been really, really focused on his root causes there. I hope
he's got 2 of the same size hammies. He'll be fine.
He should be okay.
He'll play 3 games and go on IR.
All right, we will see. All right, I will break down this Hawks Titans. I'm not going to get too much into the Seahawks. I mean, we all know who the 3 receivers are going to be: Lockett, Metcalf, JSN. We know who the 2 running backs are going to be. We know who the quarterback's going to be. So I want to get into the Tennessee side because I'm very disappointed with Ken's analysis on the Tennessee Titans. I think Levis was tremendous. He led 2 scoring drives in that offense. He missed only 1 out of his first 5 pass attempts. I like Pollard and Spears. They both played pretty well, even though Spears didn't get a ton of run. He did score the touchdown. Pollard did have a nice 24-yard run in the second half, even though it was against backups. It's still a pretty good run. But the one thing that's very disappointing is Treylon Burks. This guy has the prototypical body type, and he just might not have it behind the ears. And this is the perfect opportunity for him to step up because DeAndre Hopkins is out. So this may be a case of if he doesn't show out, he may either not be a part of this team or just be a complete bust. So everyone knows I'm pretty big on the Titans this year. I think they're going to be a sneaky team this year, especially on offense. So, any rebuttal, Ken? I know you're
yes, I do. First off, I'm a big Levis fan, and I think he did very well, and that's what I said originally. However, I don't bring up Burks because I don't think he will ever be able to step up. He does not have it. He's shown that he doesn't have it. The only issue with the Titans what I don't like about their offensive structure is you have Ridley, you have D-Hop, and Chig. You don't have any other wide receivers or anything. I'm a fan of Spears. You say you had a good game. JoJo says it's against backups. I 100% agree. I just wish I saw more out of Spears in this game like I saw out of Pollard.
I think they will. I think they're good. I mean, if you watch the touchdown run, he made a nice cut. I mean, he did like a nice juke cut into the end zone. I just think it's preseason. They're not going to play these guys.
Of course, but I'm just saying if you look at the stats, Pollard and Spears were not close to each other.
Don't forget Josh Wiley. I think he's pushing Chig on snaps. Josh Wiley's another tight end out there. I've been hearing some buzz around him, and I think he's creeping up the depth chart there.
Yeah, I like Chig. But no, I agree 100% with Ken. There is no really third receiver that's kind of like stepping up. It's basically Burks or bust. So, it ought to be interesting to see. Like I said, these games are pretty much should be dress rehearsals, and we'll see who they run out there.
Real quick, one last thing. I've always struggled with Tennessee that you traded A.J. Brown away instead of paying him, and 2 years later you give a big contract to Ridley when you could have done it for A.J. Brown. I cannot understand that, and I've struggled with that ever since that happened.
Well, if it makes you feel better, it costs the GM and the head coach their jobs.
Good. They should never be back in the NFL.
Yeah, I mean, Ken should be running that organization, to be honest with you.
Yeah, that was terrible. That was a bad.
Pay the man.
All right, Sean. You get where are we at here? Are you Redskins Dolphins?
Redskins Dolphins, yeah.
Yeah, Commanders Dolphins.
Oh yeah, Commanders.
So I waited till this game to bring it up just because I know how much you love your boy over in Miami returning these kicks, but I wonder if this is the game that we get a little bit more insight on the kickoffs and how they're going to approach it. It seemed like everybody was pretty vanilla with their approach. They just did straight up blocking. There was no, approach to like trying to make a return happen one way or the other. So I'm wondering if this is going to be a game where we see that. And if so, this is the game I'm excited to see it in, because I do like Scott, want to see this kid return in kicks. Washington and Miami, I think this kid's got what it takes. So, and is he going to be the guy too, really? Because they've got 3 or 4 guys they can throw back there at any point in time. If they play their starters for the first half, we anticipate they should around this week, then maybe we get to see if he's actually their starting kick returner or if it is somebody else like a Jalen Wright. And then speaking of a Jalen Wright, I wouldn't mind seeing if he actually makes his way into the starting rotation and gets some carries with the starting offense at all. That would be interesting to me. If so, I think that there's a good chance that he pushes for some of Mostert's carries as the season goes on. And then on the Commanders side, it's just going to be more Jaden, man. I want to see Jaden in this offense again. I want to see him work through a half. Hopefully he'll get at least the first half in this game and get to see him against a starting defense for another squad and really kind of get some time, get a few drives, see who he targets, who he's got some chemistry with, and things like that. So, it's basically the 2 kind of main things that I'm really hoping for come out of that game.
Got you. I like to see a little more Sanat too.
What about
what was up with him?
McCaffrey?
So that's the whole thing with what's going on with Dotson in the slot is that's basically the role that everybody envisioned for McCaffrey. So if Dotson's moved to the slot, then that kind of makes him irrelevant for this season.
Did he get targeted?
What's that?
Did he even get targeted? Yeah, he got 3. Okay, he went 2 for 25. Okay, I'm just double checking.
I think I get laughed at this because I got laughed for us when we did our draft earlier in summer. I picked Dotson, and most of you guys kind of laughed at me about that.
Oh, I did.
Yes. Well, you laugh at everything I do, but when the new coaches come in, I feel like they're playing more to Dotson's strength And Dotson's already come out and said he feels a lot more comfortable in this offense than he did last year. So I think for me, in looking at that offense, I think Dotson is going to have a very, very big year, and I don't think a lot of people think about it.
I like Dotson.
I'm with you.
Well, you know what, Ken? When we match up, you can gloat when you beat me with if Dotson has a good game.
Oh, I will.
I'm sure you will, buddy. I don't expect anything less, my guy.
Hey, it's like you said, our rivalry is just starting.
It's budding. It's coming. It's coming into fruition, my guy. There you go.
All right, Ken. Go ahead and break down this C+ game. Giants.
This sucks. This game sucks because the Giants suck. There's no Neighbors, who I was really looking forward to. There's no Tracy, who I was looking forward to. I'm hoping Slayton's out there because I've always liked Slayton. I know you guys laugh at me about it, but I just have liked Slayton.
Come on. Play the song.
Well, Wandale.
There's really nothing for me on this game that I look forward to. To me, it's really just going to see who's going to be the wide receiver 2 on this team. Who's going to step up, who's going to build that chemistry. Of course, Eric Gray is like the only other running back that's left. So there's really nothing there, and we've already seen what he kind of showed last week. So I think Eric Gray will move up into, of course, the RB2 slot, and then just kind of seeing what's out there. And Daniel Jones will be playing. So without Neighbors out there, what are we going to see? How much is he going to be out there, stuff like that. I don't remember. You guys are going to have to remind me, which quarterback was it? Neighbors was wide open last week. And they completely – there wasn't anyone around him. And just completely didn't even throw him the ball or anything. And I was like, this would definitely be a Giants kind of thing. So I don't remember which quarterback it was, but that was very hard to see last week.
Drew Lock.
Was it Drew Lock?
Drew Lock, yeah.
Yeah, the $5 million quarterback.
Yeah, the guy who's bad. But looking on the other side, the good old Texans. Oh, this offense just gets me excited, and it's fun to watch. I just want to see more Tank Dell, hopefully more Nico, Diggs. I want to see how, I just want to see more of the big three. And that's, kind of seeing how this offense will work. I think last week, I know the starters weren't out there that much, but it was nice to see, Xavier Hutchinson kind of have a pretty good game. Because after the big three, who else really is there? Mechie, all those other guys, and really no one's shown up. He had a good game. But yes, guys, I know this is preseason, but in 2 games, they have rushed 48 times for 134 yards. So their rushing game, I know Mixon's not playing. I get that. But I do need to see more out of what they have there. They didn't have much of a run game last year. So I need the Texans to kind of step it up there. I don't think that they can't be one-dimensional because at the end of the day, you can't be a good football team and just be one-dimensional and just throw all the time. I do want them to rush it, and I kind of want them to be good at it. They don't have to be the best in the league. But they need to step it up there, so I need to see that in this game.
Well, they are based off the play, off the run too. It's a lot of play action pass, so I mean, they're definitely going to still run the rock. And
they are, but they at least need to get some yards.
Yeah, that's why they brought in Joe Mixon too. I think he's more of a north and south runner, which is why I think he's been so kind of hit or miss with Cincinnati, even though he still finishes near top 10 every year. But as a north and south runner, like in between the guards, like that's what he does best. That's why they brought him in. I think it's a scheme fit, and it should work well.
Yep. All right, this is an interesting game. Are we going to see some players in this game, JoJo? Cards, Colts.
I don't know about Marvin Harrison's going to be. I mean, he's going to be on the field. He was on the field a little bit in game 1. I think they're still going to throw him out there a little bit. I don't, just like everybody else. I don't think they're going to see too much. I want to see more of him, of course, obviously. A lot of people are actually increasing their Malik Neighbors shares over, or at least just moving them up the board. I don't think they're getting near as high as Marvin, but I think ever since I was drafting on live, I think those Malik Neighbors love is starting to come up there. People starting to understand why I was doing what I was doing. Anyway, Greg Dortch, I think, is someone else to look out for fantasy-wise. if you haven't already, get your Greg Dort shares. Jonathan Gannon is really singing his praises quite often. I don't think he can go up to a stand or a podium without shouting out Greg Dortch. He's going to have a big role. A little bit more on Marvin Harrison. I wrote down a little quote from Budda Baker. He's deceptively fast with great hands. He knows how to catch the rock. So I think he looks the part to his teammates, which is important. Kyle Shanahan had a quote to John Gannon during draft day, leading up to the draft process, I should say. Don't overthink this dude. This guy's a stud. So I think the draft capital that people have been investing in Marvin Harrison should be okay. It's just lofty expectations. Even if he has a 1,000-yard season with 85 catches but with limited touchdowns, it's not going to pay off that round 2 capital. He needs to blow the roof off. I wrote some nuggets on James Conner, Trey Benson here. Benson will factor, but Jeremy Fowler, actually, this was this morning. I just saw him report from him. Conner seems to still be a focal point. They do have plans for Trey Benson. I think record and how the team's doing will factor in how fast they speed up Benson's workload, but it doesn't seem like Conner's going to go away outside of an injury. I think he's still going to be a bell cow when it comes to yards on the ground and getting carries. So just keep that in the back of your mind. If you're drafting or if you see Trey Benson kind of creeping up draft boards, it might still be too early, but depending on your outlook of the team. Indy, I don't have too much. It's really kind of defensively. I want to see more Latu, UCLA guy. A.D. Mitchell, of course, I want to see more of him on the field. I do want to see more A. Rich and JT on the field together. We got a very, very small taste there. The Josh Downs stuff does hurt, so I think this helps A.D. Mitchell quite a bit. High ankle sprains can definitely linger. This is an older back, but Austin Eckler never got right after a high ankle sprain. A lot of receivers and running backs don't get right after high ankle sprains. So, but he's younger, so we'll see if he can come in and bounce back. But I really want to see some more A.D. Mitchell and see how that goes.
Alrighty, good analysis there. All right, I will preview the next game. We got 4 more games to preview, so we're kind of up against it. So we're going to roll through these. I got the Jets and Panthers. Just a couple things with the Jets. I want to see a little bit more Malachi of the Children of the Corn Corley. I want to see a little bit more run on him, and I want to see Braylon Allen. I want to see him running over linebackers. I'm pretty excited to see that. And then as far as Carolina, they shouldn't even be sitting starters. I mean, they need to play. This team sucks. Get out there with Young. I want to see. Obviously, you're not going to see Adam Thielen and Deontay, but I want to see Leggett. I want to see Mingo. I want to see Terrence Marshall Jr. These guys got to earn a role. This team needs offense, so I need to see this offense out there. With Young. So
young tight end too.
Forward to see that
tight end they drafted. I'm name blanking again, but the tight end that Carolina picked too. I'd like to see what he does. Sanders. Yes, thank you.
Sanders. Yep. So I mean, these guys got to get out there and start playing some football. So definitely looking forward to that. So we will move on to the next game, and it's going to go over to Sean. Sean's got the Bengals Bears.
Absolutely. So I'm not sure if Glass Joe's playing. I don't believe so, but even if he does or not, we'll still get to see this backup quarterback competition that Ken's so excited about. So that'll be, a fun little, round 2 for that one there. With the Bears, again, we're talking the same exact scenario. We're going to watch Caleb. We're going to hope that we see some growth out of him. I'd like to see some more out of Rome. I'd like to see Rome get more usage in this game, get some some plays with the ones in there, and then leave him in a little bit into the second half too, and let him get some game time and get some action out there. Otherwise, there's really not much else to really go too crazy on. I'd like to see how the Zach Moss, Chase Brown rotation plays out a little bit. So that'll be another thing I'm going to be keeping an eye on. So otherwise, it'll just be another one of those games that we're watching to see how these young kids look.
Alrighty. All right, Kenneth, interstate rival here.
Yeah, so I kind of already talked about this, so I'll keep this brief, but I just want to see more on the Buck side starting out. I want to see more from Bucky, just to make sure, I want to see the usage between him and Sean Tucker. Both of them had good weeks last week. I definitely think Bucky will come out ahead, But I thought that was just interesting to see that Sean Tucker still had a lot of touches. And then I want to see Mayfield in the offense out there. That's kind of a big thing for me. I want to see, who lines up as the third wide receiver. Are they really going to – I want to make sure that they're using McMillan, or are they going to try and put Palmer in there, kind of see how that looks. And then on the flip side with the Jags, kind of goes back to Tank Bigsby, see if he can build off last game. And then, get more out of, Brian Thomas, because I think out of all the rookie wide receivers this year, he's been the one that's been very, very quiet. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing or a good thing, but I just want to see more out of him and see that offense to see how they're going to incorporate him.
Alrighty. All right. And then the last game, another interstate rivalry. JoJo.
I chose this game too for a
Chargers.
reason, just because, I like doing the LA local teams here. I'm not going to touch too much more on the Jordan Whittington stuff that Sean referenced earlier. Just a couple quotes that I love from Sean McVay. He's gonna be a factor. Whatever that means, we'll see how much of a role he does carve out with Cooper Kupp and obviously Puka Nacua leading the way. Jordan Whittington, I'm sorry, Stetson Bennett is going to obviously be the guy. Hopefully he doesn't turn the ball over 5 times this game. Colby Parkinson is actually the more fantasy relevant guy I wrote down here. He's listed as the starter still over Davis Allen. Probably a tight end, late round tight end dart throw here. Going to have to get value by falling in the end zone, but Tyler Higbee's been on the field so much in the past that if Colby Parkinson really is the guy, he's going to be on the field. So be that as it may. On the flip side for the Chargers, I just have a little story on Luis Perez. I don't know if anybody's played any USFL, XFL, DFS, but Luis Perez has been a staple in a lot of optimal lineups just because he's just a consistent guy. But he's pressing the backup situation in the Chargers. Easton Stick was kind of coasting. Max Duggan, I should say, wasn't really cutting it. And then Charlie Bauman just got cut because Luis came in. Just to kind of Harbaugh really was kind of trying to stick it to these backups. You guys aren't getting competition. So he's impressed with his 4 days in, learning the language and everything. So just throwing it out there, Luis Perez might be an NFL journeyman on an NFL roster. He needs to call the number. I do. I have a problem. I also wrote down, Joe Alt. He looked really good. Really nothing really to really write home about for LAC. I am on the team of their supporting cast is amongst the worst in the league. I'm not as big of a Lad McConkey truther as a lot of people are. I just don't think the targets are going to be there, just because I don't think the volume is going to be there. Not to say that they're never going to throw the ball. I just don't think it's going to pay off the ADP. I think he has to cash in on the end zone to really pay off the ADP where he's going at. Other than that, J.K. Dobbins, I do want to see that because I'm an Ohio State guy as well. So we'll see a little more J.K. Dobbins. Hopefully he can stay healthy.
All righty. Well, for you listeners, anybody that plays XFL DFS, give JoJo a DM message. He could help you out. Help you out with that one. All righty. That wraps it up for this show, gamers. And like I said before, we really appreciate your support. Leave a comment. Like and subscribe to our podcast, and enjoy this week's games. They should be eventful. So for my co-host Sean, the dealer's back, JoJo. Until next week, gamers, we are out. That's a wrap.